All right, all you devils, how you doing out there? Here we are, Wednesday the 8th, kind of middle of the day here. So I thought we'd take a look at some of the big dogs in the alt space. They seem to be making a statement that perhaps their demise was a bit premature. So we'll look at some of the big ones that are really on the move. So here we'll start with Cardano. Now we looked at this recently, but we're getting quite a rip here. Now let's keep it in perspective. So a long way to go to get back to our prior highs, but we're making a very nice start on it here. Now, so it's always a good idea to get out so you can get perspective. So here I'm on, this is an 8-hour Cardano to Bitcoin on Binance. Now, what's interesting now as we go through these is that I'm looking at all of these relative to Bitcoin. So as Bitcoin, stays in this range, alts are able to move here, and we'll kind of talk about how this may resolve itself if Bitcoin starts to move. But at the moment, okay, let's just do a quick review. So first thing, always we want to check, it's trading technically. Now we've been through this many times. This is a very well-known algo pull. Here is our 50, and we go algo target to the tick, and that low, that algo target low, becomes the base from which we build. But there was a couple others in here. Let's see if we zoom it back here. So the first thing you'd look at is say, well, how are we doing technically? So I've wicked off this little pivot here because from this pivot, we didn't get a retracement. We didn't get a 50 anywhere, but this did come back into play here. So if we look here to here, right into the golden zone, I mean, I think we're past the point of having to, wonder about what happened there. It's literally tick to tick, right? Just from the golden zone. No, it's not the 618. It's in the golden zone. Gets the target right there. So we know an algorithm used this pivot, so we got to pay attention to that. So as we now are moving away, well, of course, the first thing you'd look for here, well, okay, well, how are we doing here? Let's get that right on it, right? So here's the good news for bulls, right, of which I am in that camp. All right, we're through the golden zone here. All right, that's encouraging. So from this pivot, we've broken that resistance. So very, very positive sign. Now, that doesn't mean we just keep going here, but let's see if I get this right on there, right? So we're clearly through it. But, right, we got to go back and check. So what was the last one that we know that they used? Right here, right? So what did we just do? So you're looking at that going, why does it stop there? Why does it stop there? It broke the 618 from here. Why is it stopping there? Well, we know an algorithm used that, right? We know from this that it was used. So I'm just going down here, right? So if this one breaks, you got to go back to the last one that you can identify that was used, right? Looks like that was also on a smaller scale used as well, right? There it is again. Right. Oh, Jesus, look at that. All right, so here's golden zone, goes right to target, little reaction, ends up at third target before it starts that. It's nothing but algos, guys. It's all that's happening there, right? So, but we can use that to our advantage. So we can see. So you're looking at it and go, why does it stop there? So that's likely our reason. Now, of course, that doesn't mean we can't just retrace here and get. That's not what I'm never saying. It's not that we can't get through it, right? We could retrace here and blow right up. So I'm not necessarily putting a pivot high in here, although some of the fib swing relationships would suggest that perhaps we're in an area where we might anticipate a pause. I mean, that's a pretty good kick in the fifth, assuming this count holds up, and then we aren't changing it, which is very possible. And we're putting the 3 here and the 4 here. Right now, there's a completed impulse in there, but if it keeps going, we'll have to reevaluate, and perhaps this all gets shoved into the third up here. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. Right now, we have just a textbook, like, can't make this shit up. So here's our wave 1 pivot. Note this, right? So it's close, right? Comes right down to it. You seem like, come on, man, is that real? Really? What else does it do? Splits the lips of the Vegas wave. Just amazing, right? So if you were just traditional, just standard ops, we'd want to check the length of the third here, how we related here at the 4. So it's interesting. So it appears that it doesn't get to the 50 because had it gone to the 50, we'd overlap the 1. So the structure holds it, but that's close enough for a front run, and then we get a little stutter here at the target. Now we've gone all the way to third target. So do you see how we're getting the third algo target here as we bump into that 50 from the other degree? So well, let's see. So trying to evaluate the quality of that top, I would need more. I'd need more. So maybe 1 through 3 from that pivot 4. Well, it's not to the tick. 127, 138, pretty close by. Length of the 1 from the 4. So just checking to see if I can get a little more confluence. If I can get this stay hot right on that pivot. So we're going to go the length of the 1 from the proposed 4. Now I'm starting to stack up here. So I've got my 2, 6, 1, 8. Right, I've got the length of the 1 through 3 projected from that 4. Here's my 1, 3, 8, 2, and then I've got the 50 from up above. I'm stacking pretty well here. Right? So I've got a nice little cluster to support the idea. That's the potential for a pivot here. Now we see the little pullback, but that's not enough to call that a top. Right? We got to wait and see. So to call it a top, we need to get a move down and then a lower high and then a lower low. Right? So it's something to imply that we've got the trend change, which would really, of course, all we'd be looking to do would be anticipate the retrace to give us our second wave. So if we, let's take this down a degree. Let's go some minuet here. So if we're going to go try and put some context around this, that seems pretty reasonable. Maybe a 2 down here, 3, 4, 5. We got to put them somewhere. Let's go up a degree and put them in white so they stand out. So just a contender right now. I'm not making that call, but you can see it now. I mean, it's such a straight shot, you'd be unlikely to get any geometry. So when I see that, we could do it a couple of different ways. I might just take the entire thing here, right? So you're going to get the huge throw over here. Well, you might, if that was too much, another choice would be just take the straight rip, right? So from the 2 low, might do it that way. So at least we're getting some of the, in terms of anticipating where we might come back down to. Those are just contenders, some things that you might consider. I think this is going to be way too steep. If I'm not mistaken. Yeah, we'd have to be, you'd probably get the 2 or the 3 on there. Note here, right? Once we get a corner, right? Once we get the corner, 80% probability, there it is, right there, right? It's got much more legs to it. But the 80% does get realized, so it's kind of tricky to get a channel around this. Even here you can't really do much because of this pump. So it's tough to get the geometry around it. But I might even something like this, just to say, okay, even that is giving you throw over here using the regression channels because it's just such a massive move. But really, all we're trying to do is evaluate if indeed we start coming down, where's the next opportunity? Well, of course, this looks pretty appealing. All right, we get this nice little cluster zone down here. So just standard ops, guys, right? Let's just draw it up from the, I'm going to use this low as the start of it. So if, now I don't know that I have that pivot, but if that is a pivot, eventually I'm likely to get a pivot up here. We're not likely to keep going just straight without some correction because the people that caught this will want to take profit. So all of this, if we're going to get a true third, we'd be looking for all of this much higher. Right, so if we're going to come down anywhere in this range, well, this is kind of nice. Look how this gets framed here. Right, so we get this action here. So if we're going to come down anywhere into this zone, now I know that's a long way down, and there are going to be times when if you're waiting for that, like boy, that is just. Well, you can't script them any better. So if you get something along these lines, the Vegas wave likely be coming up if this is coming down. So anywhere in this range here, I'd be very interested. Now, of course, I want to see it come down in a 3. Right? I mean, we can be picky. Right? I want to see a 3 come down. Right? Then sets that up rather nicely. So we'll see. Right? That would be the first area that I would set an alert here. I'm not going to buy it because it's just gone parabolic. I'm not going to buy that. I'm going to wait. So I would put just an alert here. So as I'm approaching this pivot, if I get under the 38, I want to be aware of that, right? Because that's a pretty good rip. It may not make it all the way back, but that structure, boy, that's going to be interesting to see if we get back here and we get the opportunity to be a buyer there. Then, depending on how long it takes, well, then you might start putting some geometry around it. Right? Again, are we doing it here, right? You don't know, but something like that might get your attention. So very encouraging to see. Right, now, it will be interesting to see if we're going to get through that, if we're going to go up and get the 618. Right, if we get all the way back down here, if we're going to get through that. Right, well, look, if we were to come down here and do something like that, look where that first algo target is, right at the 618, but that's the big one that we're after. So lots of opportunity here. This is really encouraging. It looks good both against the dollar and Bitcoin. So one to definitely have on your hot list, and I'd be getting notified. I'd want to know when it gets down to the 38. Well, you got some of this stuff over here as well. So I'd be watching for any signs of structure that it might roll right now. You can see what it's running into right now. Well, it's just come down, it's run into this. So one for the watch list. Okay, so in the same idea, let's go over to look at Chainlink. This, I think, was a trickier count because this is a bit confusing here. So let's just unpack this a little bit. This is it's really the only option you have here is that it's a triangle. It's pretty textbook triangle. We get the A, B, C, D, E, and then break up out of it. So working backwards from that, here's where Elliott Wave can be really helpful to you. So since it's a triangle, it can't be a 2, right? So that the only thing it leaves is a 4. So, and since we can get just the textbook triangle in there, now granted, we do overlap here. You know, this is kind of a judgment call. So the 4 is actually right here. Right, but the A overlaps it. So it wouldn't be a problem here because we're looking for the 5th here. So if this is correctly identified as the 3, the 4, and then we start into the 5 here, well, you're getting the same idea here. We're getting the same extension. Yeah, I was looking here, length of 1 through 3, again, since we've gone so far. Well, there's the 127, 138. Oh, you might do that. Also looking here within the confines of this, so the length of this one projected from the 4 over here before it goes up. I get right on it. Well, we've just hit the 1272 to the tick. You know, again, it's sort of like Cardano. I'm you know, that's a placeholder, but nothing says we couldn't just pull back a little bit here and then rip higher again. So all of this down here looks like pretty interesting potential support if we're going to come back down. So if this 5, heavy emphasis if we've got a pivot in here, which of course we can't say yet, all right, and we don't know we've got a pivot until we see something come down here. We get a lower high and then a lower low, then we've got the corrective start on it. So from, of course, right, just standard ops, right? What are we looking for? From the swing low to the currently, what is the pivot high? Well, here, you know, so this bringing this down into this range here. So this is kind of the range we'd be looking for. Anything down here, bring it down in a 3. Both of these are just going to be really appealing if we can get that opportunity, right? So this is just first algo target. So if this is going to ultimately play as a completed one wave off of our low back here, well, we got lots of upside here. So you're looking for this to go here. That's lots of upside potential. So this is really encouraging to see this, particularly in alts to Bitcoin. Right? That's the most encouraging thing that I see coming out of this. All right. So now, of course, so you think about Bitcoin. Now, if Bitcoin is going to start to move, and here's our. Well, let's go to our. This is our 3-day. Get out of here. I don't want you on there. Okay, there's our 3-day. Now, Bitcoin's going to start to push out of here, right? We got heavy resistance to get through, not only the trend line, but this golden zone that we bumped into repeatedly. But if Bitcoin's going to start to go, and we're going to go up and challenge this golden zone, well, all right, then you can kind of put together how that might cause some of these other alts relative to Bitcoin to start their retracements, and then off we go. So really, really encouraging to see, but you got to be patient now. This is a great start on things. If you didn't participate in any of this, well, at least we can confirm we've got a good impulse off of the low. Now we've got to be patient, right? It can be here, all right? We don't know yet, but again, on your radar. Last one I'll look at. I was over here again. I'm liking this site, Lunar Crush here, so I'm just kind of looking through their alts, and again, I'll let you guys visit over here once again, just to remind you, I have no affiliation with them. It's just a site that I like. Interesting, right? So they're tracking all of the social media activity and just the general buzz and sentiment about each of these alts, and their coin of the day was XRP. So number 6 on their list of their alt rank. So XRP relative to Bitcoin. Well, that made me want to go over here and look. So very similar kind of pattern as we see we're starting to move again. So coming off of this, well, I mean, I'm down here on an hourly, so we got to keep a little perspective, right? Important to have some perspective, because you get, you're down here on the hourly and it looks like, whoa, it's really on the really flying. But let's not forget, where we've come from. One of these was, no, that's not bad. All right, to that 50 low, not realized yet, but doesn't look like there was anything else in here. So keeps a little perspective, always a good idea. So let's go back to that hourly where it looks like, hey, yeah, look what we're doing. So I might use the last pivot just as kind of a target, although I want to check some of these here, see how we're doing. I mean, we're not even to, there you go, right? So why does it stop there? There's why. All right, so this pivot, did they use it before? Looks like they might have. Well, it looks like, yeah, they did use this. So here, so you can see it from here. So here's the tag. So this is a lower low. So this goes up here. We tag it, and then it comes down here. We get to and through. It doesn't quite make second target. So a little sloppy on the finish, but clearly this was the technical pivot. So just pulling down to this low, you can kind of, right? It's very similar to what we just looked at with Cardano, right? The prior pivot that was used. Now we go, all right, why does it stop there? That's why. Right, I promise you guys that's arm going off. That's what's happening there, right? That's software kicking in, right? So they're just using prior pivot that they used previously. Now again, as quick to remind you, doesn't mean it can't get through, right? This is a secondary pivot, not a dominant, but obviously it was used. Obviously, again, doesn't mean it can't get through, but that's a reasonable spot. So let's open this up. So as we're looking at this as a contender, well, again, it looks like Cardano, in that we may have to turn this into a 1, 2, 3, 4. So if it's going to break this and we're going to get on the other side of it, well, then you're likely putting the 3 up here and the 4 up here. So right now this is technical, looks good, right? We don't overlap the 1 here. We get plenty of distance from the 1 to the 2. I get a nice impulse into this 3. I get a nice little ABC into my 4 down here. Straight big rip in the 5. Now is the 5 done? Well, again, too soon to tell. But another one to be on your radar. So knowing that we've got a technical pivot up here, same thing, right? Exactly the same thing. Wait and see, are we going to get a lower high, right? Is this the A, B start of it, right? Are we just going to keep going higher and then look for secondary pivots that might be in use? So again, kind of the same idea here. I'd wait, right? And again, keep it up here. Just somewhere. Eventually, we're going to get a pivot. Right now, it's a contender, right? Because you can, kind of skinny, but you can finish it up there. It's not ideal. So this could be the 4 of a 5 before it kicks again. So that could be the 4 going up to finish that 5. So you'd have 1, maybe 2, 3, 4, go up for the 5. Right. So this is tentatively just the current pivot, nothing more than that. So another one, right? Once we get that pivot up here, wherever it is, if it's here or if it's higher, exact same idea. We start to come down, give it to me in a 3, whatever it looks like. That I want to know about. That's the big one, right? So this is the first wave is establishing the potential. Now it's potential for a trend change. Let's see, we get higher highs, higher lows. That's pretty simple. So, but we got a lot of resistance to get through and a long way back to get to where we've done this before, guys, right? So keep in mind we've had these kind of little rips before that were just rejected. So is it different this time? Well, it certainly could be, right? So it has all the makings of it. All right, but we'll wait and see. Let's not blow the bullhorn just yet, but that's a really good looking start on it. All right, guys, there you go. Plenty to chew on there. I will probably wrap there for the day because I'm mentioning you guys, I'm right in the middle of moving. Okay, there you go. Chew on that, and we'll be back to you guys.